Welcome. No. Welcome. No. 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 Ink. 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 Roll call. Ink. Ink.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks so much.
Fantastic.
Thanks, everyone.
This also reminds me of a discussion that a lot of us had during the 90s about surface and interior, or surface and essence, where we normally think about what's inside you as essence as being more sincere than what's on the surface. And the discussion at that time was, no, surface is as important as interior or essence, as you will, and in fact they are on an equal plane.
Yes. And I think one of the really exciting things, whether this is kind of more of an identity question or a media-based thing or a metaphor-based thing, is this question of how the kind of recombinant nature of multiple surfaces can actually create new structures. And I think that's kind of one of the relationships of these things. This type of research in performativity in virtual reality has felt very exciting, because of this question, right, of are we just translating the metaphors we already have, or are we finding these new recombinant natures to create new metaphors? And actually yesterday in the talk back, we were talking a lot about, all right, well, is this a proscenium? Is it theater in the round? Is it a virtual, sweaty DIY club, or is it something else? And, I think the thing we settled on actually is we said, this is actually a public laboratory. Because, these are broader questions of just how do we play synthesizer music to a bunch of, kind of candy corns and blobs and robots, but more, what other metaphors for existing on the internet can we be? As we get away from kind of like algorithmically optimized social media, how else can we exist in the internet? And I think, even Ashford mentioned, maybe these we'll each have our own little virtual union square that we can come hang out at our friends in. Maybe there's new ways of being. And I think the experimental arts can be kind of a methodology for exploring that. So this feels very exciting, both for creative reasons, but also for these larger kind of social, cultural questions as well.
And I think it's really interesting to just sort of bridge off of what Matthew was saying, in that idea that, okay, well, if we have these new paradigms for reality that are being created on the internet, or reinventing or rethinking about, reimagining what the internet looks like, I think there's a real space to break down the fourth wall too, and think about, well, what does the internet look like as it reaches out into our reality? In some ways, it's been forced in this COVID reality that we live in. But I think there's a real potential there. And it sort of reminds me of the history of media art as well, kind of digging deep into like the Gene Youngblood space, and talking about this idea of presentation versus representation, and how we're all co-present in this room that is a representation of us, while Matthew is sort of presenting in this virtual format. So I guess I'm not sure where that all leads, but I think there is a really potential interesting new paradigm that can be established, especially for live performance. So those are just, yeah.
I mean, like me, which I run Hyphen Hub, which a lot of our programming is performance. This is for me, it's been very exciting to work with Claudia and with other artists that are doing spaces like this, like Pito Segura and other ones, and because it's like, it really is like a jam session. You could also, the potentials are infinite, for the moment. In terms of like each character could become, for one thing, you become like a little bit of a Sleep No More theatrical performance where everybody is part of the characters or the actors. And then there is also all the different musicians, from artists from all over the world, that could actually take part in a choreograph, like a performance type. And you could also work with surround sound. The space definitely could become part of so it's a much more theatrical slash music live performance, and where we also get some superpowers that we don't have in real life. So
well, the
for,
interesting thing too,
yeah.
as a musician, you know, like in these spaces, I think one of the problems is latency over the network, and so it's never going to be like a real in-person performance. It's just not really possible in these rooms because of the latency that's introduced. But I think that also the technology shapes the performance practice as well.
We've been working with synthesized music. I'm also interested in, like Andrew, natural music, right? Like what more of the idea of the mixed reality, the expansion of the body in a world where we are, you know, a victim. It's not going to go away. I feel like we're just at the beginning of these diseases and physical disasters, environmental. So a world in which we are indoors more, but there will be some outdoors, and how we can expand as a bodily experience in a life where the contact with the outdoors is less available.
Maybe if we'll wait and see if any Zoom questions come in. I just wanted to say, because I know we have a lot of music folks here tonight. I think we all kind of hit on this in these various ways, but there's that, you know, there's that classic Marshall McLuhan quote about how we engage with new technology through the metaphors of the old rather than seeing what's truly new about it. You know, so the car isn't genuinely something new. The car is a horseless carriage. You know, VR concerts aren't new. They're just a more portable DIY club. So I think like Andrew was mentioning, even it's interesting how this technology tends to either drive new forms or it gets used to answer very boring questions. So you know, there's this question of, oh, how do we how do we solve the latency so we can have a string quartet in VR? You know, and at its root, you know, maybe that's not the question, but we say, what new type of string quartet, what new type of quartet, what could only happen in VR? And I think that's where it's going. I think Asher and Claudia had kind of spoken to that too in the theatrical sense.